Okay, Kyle, so we got a big game in college football this weekend. In fact, we got a lot of big games. Week one of college football, so exciting times. Notre Dame, Ohio State, battle of two top five teams in the preseason rankings, at least. They're going to be battling it out in Columbus, in the shoe. What's your first interpretation of this game?
Well, I think these types of week one games are interesting because for Ohio State, they're clearly going to be heavy favorites in this game. They're clearly one of the three best teams in college football. If you remember the Rose Bowl game last year, where it was a 51-48 thriller of a game where Ohio State had a wide receiver that went for 300 yards and another receiver that went for 200 yards. Let's remember that Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave sat out for that game. So that offense of CJ Stroud, Jackson Akina, and Marvin Harrison Jr. are all coming back for Ohio State this year. They're going to be a powerhouse, shoe-in, pun intended, to make the college football playoff. And they're 15.5-point favorites against Notre Dame. But I think these week one games are not about whether you win or lose. It's more of a measurement game. And I think the thing I'm most interested in, besides seeing that Ohio State offense again, is watching Notre Dame with a new team. I think I saw like 30% of their team is turned over from last year. Obviously, Brian Kelly goes to LSU, Marcus Freeman and their offensive coordinator are still there. And Notre Dame's going to be, for the most part, a brand new team, a team that finished, as you may remember, 5th in the college football playoff rankings last year.
So I noticed you said 15.5. The line must have shifted because I know when Marcus Freeman was talking about it, it was 17.5, and he decided I'm going to put that number down as bulletin board material. Marcus Freeman, actually Ohio State alum. So this is a big game for him, a game that he definitely is looking forward to putting a hurting on his alma mater, I should say. When I look at, obviously, this Buckeyes offense, it just stacked. You talk about Stroud being there, Jackson Smith-Ozingbo, Marvin Harrison Jr., and then you talk about Treveyon Henderson, their running back. Top to bottom, they're going to be a problem. I think where you talk about Notre Dame really having an opportunity potentially in this game to at least make it close is the weakness of Ohio State was their defense last year. They don't have a Bosa brother on this team. They don't have a Chase Young on this team. And last year, they were the 38th ranked defense in terms of points allowed. Notre Dame has an opportunity with a young athletic quarterback and Tyler Buchner. Buchner got a little opportunity to play a little bit last year, but the number 71 prospect in college football in 2021, they unfortunately did have some injuries that kind of like hit them in the offseason, though, going into this game. I should mention, so they're going to be without Avery Davis, who was their third leading receiver last year. They're going to be missing a 4-star wide receiver in Jadarius Price. The big opportunity for this team would be like to win in the trenches, is that's been Notre Dame's strength the last few years. I just think that the continuity issues are going to be too much for them to overcome. They're playing the first of a home and home series. They're supposed to play in South Bend next year, but I think they would have preferred it to be flipped, because for them to have to go to Ohio State the same year that they're going to be starting a new coach and a new quarterback, I think is problematic. That's just a tough environment for any team, especially when you're talking about facing this high-flying Ohio State Buckeyes offense. And I think Vegas has it right. I think this line is about right. And that's shocking to say when you're talking about a 17-point, 15-point, whatever we call it, line between two top five teams. But I guess it's not too unnatural considering what the college football playoff first round has been.
It's also the state of college football, is that the programs that get the 4.5 and 5 stars and have become factories, it was Alabama, it was Ohio State, and it was Clemson. And now it's Alabama, Ohio State, and Georgia. Those programs are so far ahead of everyone else that, they're going to be heavy favorites. And if you lose the game, it's not a disappointment for those teams. I remember last year when Michigan State was ranked like 6th in the country and they were 9-1. And the week before, Mel Tucker had gotten a $100 million extension. They were like 14.5-point underdogs against Ohio State. And this was an Ohio State team that didn't even make the playoff last year. So, it's just a machine that those programs have. And from the Notre Dame standpoint, it doesn't matter if you win or lose. I think Notre Dame has an interesting schedule this year where, of course, they play USC every year. They have a home game against Clemson in October, and I think that's going to be a great measuring stick game for them.
So you're right. They might be forgiven if they have this early season loss. Same way, too, Ohio State could afford to lose this game if it came down to it. I know a lot of Buckeyes fans are mostly spooked because of last year's game against the Oregon Ducks, early season game, talented running game, and was able to do a little Pac-12 action in the Big Ten and kind of like ruin the Buckeyes season early on, prior to, of course, Michigan doing it later in the season. I don't think there's going to be any surprises. I'm going with the Buckeyes here. I think I'm feeling pretty locked into that pick against the point spread. I hate to do this, Marcus Freeman, but I think it's about right because I just think that this Buckeyes offense is just too damn good, man.
I think I'm with you on that. I think Ohio State is going to have a really, really fun game. Again, I thought Marcus Freeman was a weird hire from Notre Dame. Obviously, he's become the person that college football fans are swooning over the past 6 months, and he's doing videos with like Oakley shades in Vegas and all that stuff. But I thought it was a weird hire in the first place. Notre Dame is one of those teams that's always going to be in that second or third tier group of teams in college football, or at least as long as they have like stability within their program, they will be. And I'm with you. Ohio State's going to win the game. It's just going to be really interesting to watch how they get there.
All right, guys. Well, go ahead and drop below in the comments. Do you think it's going to be Ohio State? Do you think it's going to be Notre Dame to get the win on Saturday, set up their season, go to maybe the college football playoffs later on? From Juju Talk Sports, Kyle Ledbetter, stay safe, happy, and healthy. We will see you next time.